Hello, everybody, and we are live. Welcome to this week's LinkedIn Live by Gain. We are very lucky to be joined by Will Gilbert, co-founder of Bodhi. Welcome, Will.
Thanks for having me, Zoe.
How are you today? All good, your end?
Doing well. We're based here in sunny South Florida, so it was a crisp 50 degrees this morning, but it's fantastic. It's been doing great down here.
Not bad. I saw one of your colleagues going from your office to his home, and it was a very big difference from sun to like 2 feet of snow. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, we had our 2026 sales kickoff and peaking from Louisville, and it was a big difference leaving here going back up north, but quite the difference.
Crazy, so many seasons. Brilliant. So today we're going to talk about smart buildings and especially the 5-star guest experience, because I know that is super important to your product, and a bit about the Bodhi journey so far, because you guys have been building huge things over the last year and since we last spoke. So let's dive in. So Bodhi is a software platform. We've got so many platforms, so many solutions in hospitality. So what makes the Bodhi platform different?
You're right. There's so many different platforms, so many different solutions. We're the only ones with our solution that can guarantee 100% guest satisfaction and deliver, 5-star reviews. Operating a property, wouldn't it be really nice if you had hundreds of technicians and people going around and making sure that everything was working, pressing buttons, testing lights, making sure that the mini bar was cold, that the air conditioning was working correctly, that the television was turning on, turning off, all those kind of things. So Bodhi acts as that virtual technician going around that property, doing all those things, and that's how we can ensure 100% guest satisfaction.
Amazing. Yeah, it's something that staff just absolutely can't get to. And so to have that all automated in the back end. I even saw a post where your co-founder, Greg, actually has it in his home, which I absolutely love, because I think if you've got your own technology, you've built it and then you've installed it, it's like,
Yeah, all of us have it in our homes. We eat our own dog food, right? So,
amazing.
and the data is so cool, especially with air conditioning is a big thing, especially here in South Florida. And I go on a lot of trips and travel places, and I have some data points that I'll get, and it'll let me know, hey, your air conditioning in one side of your house isn't working as efficiently, and that way I can get ahead of that before my wife calls me saying, hey, this thing's broken, right? So we all have it in our homes, and we use it actually every day to develop the product even more and more.
Amazing. Yeah, it's relevant for all types of buildings, but specifically hospitality, where we have to ensure that the guest is comfortable at all times. And there's just no other way of doing that than technology. So, most hotels do already have a building management system in place. So what are you fundamentally different to legacy systems that are already in place?
Yeah, traditional BMSs are great if you just care about air conditioning and central plants and things like that. But hotels have many, many, many more different devices and systems. They have door locks, housekeeping systems, guest requests coming in, televisions, lighting control, just to name just a few. And a traditional BMS, it only gives you information about what's going on. We integrate to all those different systems, right? More than just air conditioning, and we do it very deeply. And by doing that, what I mean by that is that we just don't provide information on how the building's working and how these things are performing. You can actually control them. So we're a full control system, not just a dashboard. It's an operating system. So from that, when that engineer is looking at issues at their property, they can go and actually make adjustments to it. Or if they want to make a change to the lighting or the air conditioning or the music that's playing there, they can do that all right from Bodhi. They don't have to go to a separate system. So we're way more than just a traditional BMS of bringing data in, presenting you with a problem and saying, hey, go figure it out.
Amazing. Yeah. And I guess as more and more technology comes on the scene, like door locks, we didn't have them before. There's different technology that lives in the guest room now, and it's just more and more overwhelming for systems.
Especially with IoT and all the different sensors, being able to bring in water leak detection sensors and water valves and temperature humidity sensors, odor sensors, indoor air quality sensors. It's really limitless in the amount of data that's coming into the platform.
That's right. And so that's a very nice segue into my next question, which is, if this is all working perfectly and automation is doing its job, how does this affect the guest?
Well, the simple one is if it's all working and doing its job, then there's no guest complaints, right? But the automation only works as well as the amount of data that it has coming into it. So, if you go into a property and it doesn't have any sensors or technology in the room, you're not going to get much from the automation. But when you start adding in the technology to that space, not only can you automate how things operate and things for the guest, but you can also automate, how that guest is being serviced, when that room is being made up, when that guest is checking out, knowing when they're actually in or out of that room. So, if automation is doing its job properly, it shows up as no guest complaints, 5-star reviews, and that's exactly what we're doing here at Bodhi.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the best guest technology is invisible technology, right? That they just have a great time, they leave and they're happy. We don't want friction in the guest experience.
Exactly.
Cool. So this is what I'm really interested to know, actually, because since last time we spoke, Bodhi has better product, more clients, global footprint. And so what has growing so rapidly over the last year looked like for you?
Oh, I could talk about this for an hour, but the last year, off the bat is our entire suite of AI products. From Bodhi GPT and Guest GPT, the amazing super agent that watches over all this different data coming in. Just those three products right there. Most companies come out with maybe one, and we came out with three just this past year. And by doing so, our connected device count has 3x'd. We ended the year with just over 60,000 devices connected to Bodhi. We're now processing nearly 300,000 data points per second, and those data points could be lights turning on, music being adjusted, temperature in the room, guest requests coming in, all things like that. And with that, from a business sense, in year-over-year revenue, we've increased 560% year-over-year. We've quadrupled our customer base. More importantly, we had amazing uptake of new products, the existing customer base as well. And we're just getting started here in 2026 with so many cool things that we'll be showing off in the next few months.
Wow, congratulations. That is absolutely massive. So what have you learned about selling and scaling hospitality? Because, it can be a competitive industry.
A few things. One, more and more customers want consolidation. They're getting wise to the, you buy this component and this service and that service and kind of bolt them all together. They want a platform of consolidation. We want a platform like Bodhi. And now, more and more are coming to us. And saying, if we're going to go ahead and procure this piece of equipment, it better work on Bodhi, right? And so they want to consolidate all those different items into one platform, and that's what we deliver, and we're delivering even more and more of those. And you're going to see some really cool software services coming out as well this year to provide that consolidation. Also, seasonal properties, they don't want fixed fees. Which is why we developed our consumption-based our model, our pay-as-you-go. Bodhi only gets paid when you're getting paid, right? Makes sense. If you don't have a guest in that room, why are you paying a fixed fee for the month? It doesn't make any sense. So we redefined how SaaS is working in the hospitality market on that pay-as-you go concept. The last part, really, security is extremely important. It's something, scaling in hospitality tech, when you start scaling into the larger brands, security is a big deal, which is why we've implemented, our SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, GDPR implementations. And, we don't just say how we handle customer data, we actually prove how we handle customer data. So a few things there on learning some on the scaling into the hotel tech space.
Wow, you said so much there. I just want to unpack a little bit. So going back to this pay-as-you-go model, that's something that I've never come across in SaaS before. So can you just explain why you did it, what exactly it looks like for the customer and how it's rolling out?
Well, yeah, because it makes sense. It's when you go to a customer and say, okay, it's X dollars per month per room, they look at that and say, okay, but our occupancy is usually only this percentage. Since we're tied in with the property management system, we know when that room was rented or is rented and occupied. So why not go ahead and just bill based on that, based on the usage of the hotel? That way, if they're doing well, we're doing well, and it makes complete sense. It's a relationship with the property, and we're partners in their success.
Yeah, that really really makes you a partner, not a provider, which is what a lot of software companies say. But I think this is real proof in the pudding there, and I love that. Brilliant. Okay, so you've grown super fast. We've talked about your growth. What about growing in different global regions and going back to a bit of the security and safety aspect as well there?
So a few things on the growth and who we target and things like that. For the global regions, one thing that we did is when we designed our platform, we didn't leverage a single technology as far as the hosting and the data processing and all of that. We built it on a platform of scalability and portability, right? So when we start going into other environments such as the Middle East or in Asia, where you can't run in public clouds, you have to run in private clouds. Our software moves right into those, no problem. We don't have any issues with scaling into those different jurisdictions and environments. Moving into growing fast and across. We first focused on the independent hotels, right? The owner-operated hotels, because they can make quick decisions. They're living it every single day. They have that. Those guest satisfaction scores coming in, they want to make these differences and consolidate all of their devices to one spot. And also these hotels are working off less and less staff. Ever since COVID, no one really wants to work in a hotel, and there's just more and more devices and more things that have to be working perfectly. And so by going after those independents and those owner-operated, tremendous growth there. Because they have that immediate ROI. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. And has that been your strategy in your home market as well, to go first for the independents and then for different type of hotel segment?
Yeah, absolutely. This year, I'm calling it kind of the year of the brands, because when we first started off, any software company, just giving some advice and things, any software company, if you go right to the top of a Marriott or a Hilton, you're going to spend years, trying to penetrate that organization. Where by going to the owner-operated, the ownership groups of those properties, way easier to deploy, way easier to get customer feedback as well, and keep developing the platform that makes sense for the customer. Going back to kind of that pay-as-you-go plan. Customers want this flexibility and optionality.
Yeah, definitely. I think the customer feedback is just gold. So how has real-world customer feedback affected your roadmap?
I mean, a couple things there. One, going back to the one-stop shop. Customers increasingly want to get everything from one provider and not bolt things together, and that's exactly why we exist. So bringing in things like mobile key and wallet keys, being able to have a fantastic guest app with nothing to install on your phone, nothing to download, a simple link that they can click. Different feedback like that. Preferencing room types, being able to. This is based on real feedback. It's great to have data on what rooms are requesting, makeup requests and service requests, but wouldn't it be nice in a luxury brand, let's say, that we can go ahead and preference those different room types for instant response for the people that are paying more in the building, right? So there's a lot of different real world feedback that shaped Bodhi moving forward, but those are just a couple.
That's great. And I know that you've been building a lot, so without giving too much away, but tell us what you've been working on, what your capabilities for 2026.
Yeah, well, really, 2026. We announced the pay-as-you-go plan end of 2025, right before the new year. So that's something that's really for 2026. So that that consumption-based model, because fact is that SaaS fees are stacking on top of each other, and people are starting to ask the question now, why do I keep having to pay all these things when I'm not really getting what I'm paying for, or I'm not getting services when I need them, right? So that consumption-based model is going to be awesome for this year. And then from the product side, Bodhi GPT, Guest GPT, tremendous success. Those two products really sparked have the conversation with your building, and it was right. And it also made the dashboard that we have. It's great for data, but you don't have to use it anymore. You go into Bodhi, you start asking it questions. You can just ask it, how's my building doing? And depending on your role in that property, if you're director of engineering, it's going to come back to engineering information. If you're a director of rooms or on the revenue side, it's going to come back with information about how the property is performing, year over year, month over month, things like that. And so, up till now, that conversation has been, by typing and chatting with it. We're taking that to the next level. Now with Bodhi voice AI, all these different systems are linking together between the Bodhi GPT, the guest GPT, and also the super agent. So, for both the guest and the operations. So a guest can easily, converse through their phone or through that extension on the phone in their room. And the big deal here is that when they call, Bodhi answers, and of course it can answer questions like checkout time and all those kind of things. But most people pick up the phone to do one thing, which is complain about a problem, right? They pick up the phone and they say, my TV is not working, or my room is too hot, or my room is too cold, or there's a smell. Well, since we're integrated with every single device in that room, we can go ahead with our super agent and try to fix the problem before we go back to a member of staff. So our super agent can actually take a look at that television, can take a look at that light, take a look at that air conditioning system, and see what the issue is, try to fix it, let the guests know that, yep, we identified something, we're going to let someone know. And then we take it to the operations side and in normal language tell them, here's an issue in this room, here's how we would suggest fixing that, and come back and talk if there's, if that doesn't work for you. Because we've gone through now and we've imported every single maintenance manual, every single thing of all these different devices. It's a really, really rich platform for being able to troubleshoot issues. And that goes to the operations side as well. Being able to go to that dashboard and ask it questions about the property is great, but being able to have a conversation, not just the guests being able to call, but being able to have that GM, have that voice interaction with the building, that's next level. And that's a big thing we'll be showing off actually in just a week or so in Barcelona at ISC. I invite you guys to come and see my partner Greg. He'll be there showing this off live.
Oh, I'll be there. I think
you'll be there too. That's right.
Yeah, I'm going next week, so I'm going to make a beeline to the Crestron and Rayco booths, right, where you'll be showing that technology. I just think that is marvelous. Like that is really the next level of technology, to be able to actually speak to your hotel and, as a guest, to be able to get that problem fixed. A bit like if you've got a problem with your Wi-Fi, right? You phone up, you speak to a chatbot, they test the line. If they can't help you, then you go on to a real agent. But it's that the possibilities for that are just incredible. So again, congrats. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the $1 million question, Will, why should property owners buy into Bodhi?
Good question. So, the number one asset of a hotel is really the guest, right? If you don't have a guest and they don't show up, the whole hotel thing doesn't really work, right? So, so the main reason you should buy Bodhi is that Bodhi protects your assets and your investments you're making in the property. Assets meaning your guests, making sure that you're going to have 5-star reviews, 100% satisfaction. Investments meaning you're investing in hardware throughout your property, spending can be millions of dollars. We're the only software that's going to make sure all of that hardware is going to work and perform for you. The hospitality industry is looking for any kind of means to increase profitability and efficiency, and that's exactly what Bodhi does.
Amazing. I encourage anybody listening to keep an eye on the Bodhi page and see where these guys are actually going to be at events, because the stands, we haven't even talked about that, but the stands that you install at events are always interactive. You can actually see the product in action. It's not just a stand with a table and somebody talking to you. It's actually lights, switches, blinds, whatever you want. And I think it's really worth, if you're curious about this product, it's really worth having a look. I will be next week at ISC for sure. And I know that, you're going to be at High Tech, but there's a long time between now and then. I'm sure you're going to be going to many, many shows around the country and around the globe. So keep an eye out, everyone. Experience Bodhi. Is there anything that you think we haven't covered off, Will?
Really, like to your point, seeing is believing. So, reach out, schedule a demo. We love to tailor it to your property. So even if you don't have Bodhi yet, we'll go ahead and do a demo, not just some plain thing. It'll be branded to your property. You can really touch it and feel it and see how it all works for you. And we find that when people go through, to your point, these different shows and they come and see how all this stuff works, everyone always says, "Where's this been all my life?" And so so please reach out. We love doing proof of concepts. We can check into one of your guest rooms overnight, make all this stuff work, and then show you everything on the system the very next day. So, proof of concepts and seeing is believing, and we look forward to speaking to anyone and showing them how Bodhi works.
Fantastic. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Will for joining. Brilliant, fascinating topic, and look forward to all the more developments I'm sure this year.
Thanks, Zoe. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye.